Have you ever wondered where our understanding of the human mind truly comes from? We often picture psychology as a field of healing and insight, a gentle exploration of the self. But what if I told you that some of its most profound discoveries were born from experiments so ethically disturbing they would be unthinkable today? These studies pushed the boundaries of human decency to reveal uncomfortable truths about who we are. They show us how easily good people can be led to do terrible things, how quickly our identities can collapse under pressure, and how deeply our earliest experiences shape us. Let's delve into the shadows of psychological history and examine 5 controversial experiments that forever changed our view of human nature. First, we travel back to 1961 to Yale University, where psychologist Stanley Milgram sought to understand the Holocaust. He wanted to know, were the Nazis just following orders? His experiment was deceptively simple. A volunteer, the teacher, was instructed by an authority figure in a lab coat to administer what they believed were increasingly painful electric shocks to a learner in another room every time they answered a question incorrectly. The learner, an actor, would scream, complain of a heart condition, and eventually fall silent. Despite the apparent suffering, the authority figure would calmly insist, "The experiment requires that you continue." The results were horrifying. A staggering 65% of participants administered the final, highest voltage shock. The controversy was immediate. Participants were severely distressed, believing they had seriously harmed someone, yet the insight was profound. Milgram demonstrated the terrifying power of obedience to authority. It showed that ordinary people, under the right institutional pressure, could suspend their own moral judgment. Today, this principle helps us understand everything from corporate malfeasance to military atrocities, reminding us that the capacity for such obedience lies dormant within many of us. Just a decade later, in the basement of Stanford University, another experiment spiraled out of control. Psychologist Philip Zimbardo wanted to see what would happen if you put good people in an evil place. He recruited healthy, psychologically stable male students and randomly assigned them to be either prisoners or guards in a mock prison. The transformation was swift and brutal. The guards, given uniforms and authority, quickly became sadistic, devising cruel and humiliating punishments for the prisoners. The prisoners in turn became passive, helpless, and emotionally broken. The situation deteriorated so rapidly that the planned 2-week experiment had to be shut down after just 6 days. The ethical fallout was immense, with critics arguing Zimbardo crossed the line from observer to a participant, encouraging the guards' behavior. The key takeaway, however, was a chilling one. The power of the situation and the social roles we inhabit can overwhelm our individual personalities and moral compasses. The Stanford prison experiment remains a stark warning about the abuse of power in institutions, and how easily our identities can be shaped by the labels society gives us. Our journey now takes us to an even more troubling case, involving a single unsuspecting child. In 1920, behaviorist John B. Watson conducted the Little Albert experiment. His goal was to prove that fear was a conditioned response. The subject was a 9-month-old infant known as Albert. Initially, Albert showed no fear of a white rat. Then Watson began pairing the presentation of the rat with a loud, terrifying noise made by striking a steel bar with a hammer. After several repetitions, simply seeing the rat was enough to make Albert cry and attempt to crawl away. His fear also generalized to other furry objects, like a rabbit and a Santa Claus mask. This experiment is now seen as a gross ethical violation. A child was intentionally traumatized, and Watson made no effort to decondition the fear he had instilled. The insight, however, laid the foundation for our understanding of classical conditioning and how phobias develop. It revealed that many of our deepest fears might not be innate, but learned through association, a principle that now informs modern therapeutic techniques for treating anxiety disorders. Next, we turn to the nature of love and attachment. Through the heartbreaking experiments of Harry Harlow in the 1950s, Harlow separated infant rhesus monkeys from their mothers and placed them in cages with 2 surrogates. One was a cold, wire mesh figure that provided milk. The other was a soft, terry cloth figure that offered no food, only comfort. The monkey's behavior was unequivocal. They spent nearly all their time clinging to the soft cloth mother, only briefly visiting the wire mother to feed. When frightened, they ran to the cloth mother for security. Harlow's work was condemned for its extreme cruelty to the animals, who grew up to be socially and emotionally damaged. But the discovery was revolutionary. It shattered the prevailing belief that attachment was merely about the satisfaction of physical needs like hunger. Harlow proved that contact, comfort, and emotional security are vital for healthy psychological development. His findings fundamentally reshaped child-rearing practices and our understanding of the critical importance of love and nurturing in early life. Finally, we examine an experiment that reveals a quieter, more insidious force: the pressure to conform. In the 1950s, Solomon Asch designed a simple perception test. A group of people sat in a room and were asked to judge which of 3 lines matched a standard line. The task was easy, but only one person in the room was a true participant. The rest were actors instructed to unanimously give the same, obviously incorrect answer on certain trials. What did the real participant do? Faced with a unanimous but wrong majority, about 75% of participants conformed and gave the wrong answer at least once. They knew the correct answer but chose to go along with the group to avoid the discomfort of standing out. The experiment wasn't traumatic, but its implications are deeply unsettling. It highlights our powerful, often unconscious drive for social conformity. In today's world of social media echo chambers and viral trends, Asch's findings are more relevant than ever. They show how easily public opinion can be swayed and how group pressure can lead us to doubt our own perceptions of reality. So what do these 5 disturbing stories tell us when woven together? They paint a complex and unsettling portrait of the human psyche. We are beings profoundly susceptible to authority, easily lost within the roles we are assigned, and shaped by the fears we learn. We are creatures who desperately need comfort and love, yet are so driven by the need to belong that we will abandon our own judgment to fit in. These experiments, born from an ethically dark past, serve as a permanent and necessary reminder. They force us to confront the hidden forces that manipulate our behavior and challenge us to be more conscious of our own vulnerabilities. The knowledge they provided is invaluable, but the cost was steep, leaving us with a question that continues to echo through psychology today. How much are we willing to sacrifice for the truth? Thank you for watching.